Hi Patreon members, it's that time of the week again. I am talking about Barber Pole this week. Now, there's no point in me doing the talk about Barber Pole and prepping because really it's just two singles that contrast and you apply them together. So I won't be doing any spinning in this video, but what I thought I would do with you before I talk is, well, I say I'm going to talk in a minute. Obviously I'm talking now. But what I thought I'd show you after I've explained what Barber Pole is show you a little experiment, and then we'll see the results after, once it's all dried, and then see if there's actually a massive difference in doing what I'm going to do. But I'll explain that in a minute. But I've got my notes here written down of how I'm going to explain this to you. If you've never heard of Barber Pole, okay, as in the old barber's poles that you used to see on the high street, I don't know if you see it anywhere else in the world, but you definitely see it here in the UK. And it's always a white and red, slightly candy stripe, and they swirl around each other. And you always see them at the front of barbers. It's actually very ancient origins. It used to be two snakes that wrap around together, and that's really what it represents. And because barbers back in the day used to be our equivalent of surgeons, and they would pull teeth and do help with minor ailments and things like that for the common people. We'll not go down the route of Sweeney Todd. Anyway, yeah, we all know about Sweeney Todd, don't we? So hand spun is created by applying two contrasting yarns together, i.e. two singles spun together, resulting in a yarn that resembles stripes of a barber pole. Two singles in one yarn. So the process involves taking two distinct singles, so the different colours of each other, usually, I'll get to that one in a minute, individual strands of a yarn, and then applying them together. So really that's just a breakdown, okay? The effect is most striking when the two singles are of different colours or textures. The resulting yarn has a distinctive striped appearance, often used for knitting, crochet and weaving projects when the visual effect is desired. While the term barber pole suggests a regular stripe pattern, an effect can be achieved in various ways, including contrasting colours, textures, or even different fibre types. The single type of yarn can be used in various projects, from scarves to hats to sweaters and blankets, where the unique effect of the barber pole patterning can be showcased. Now, the first thing that pops in my head are always Christmassy colours. Any time I've seen over the years people doing barber pole, it's always red and green. Red and white, or two naturals spun together, like a grey and a white natural or something like that. And I always think, why don't you do something a little bit more harmonious? Why not do a monochrome or monochromatic colours that actually work well together and complement each other, or are on different parts of the triadic table? They're the opposites of what they are. I mean, I know red and green aren't exactly hand in hand, and it screams Christmas elves to me. But you can do it in different ways. So for instance, now I'm using these wills because I dyed them up the other week, right? I dyed these up specifically for this project the other week, and it is a blended wool because I want to show you what the effects are, because I haven't really touched on any type of blended wools at the moment, or blended rovings, have I, at this moment in time. So you can see the striping in that purple colour. Now, these two were dyed in the same dye pot. This one struck really quickly, and this one took the last of the dye, okay? I wasn't originally going to dye this in the colour, but I had so much of this dye left in the pot that I thought I'll throw this in as well. Now, you can see that it is, trying to remember now, it's a whiteface, woodland whiteface blended with viscose and llama. That's what that blend is. It's really, really lovely, really unique wool. And I'm going to spin these two off together because they're from the same dye pot. So one's a darker shade than the other, and I thought that would look really, really pretty. So you've got a monochrome effect with that one, okay? So those two will get spun off together at a later date. Well, it'll be over the next couple of days. Then you can go with, you got this purple one, and I thought purple always looks good with the blue. So that is an analogous sort of complement, okay? So you could go with that, or you could go, it's not quite Christmas tree, but those look cool together. A split complementary. That's really smart together. You could go turquoise and turquoise and green together. Those ones look really cool together. That's really smart. It's got an almost, it is a, I think it was moss that I did, or was it a forest green? But it is a green, but when you put them together, they really do look smart together. They've got a really monochrome sort of look, but it won't be. But it'd be interesting to see what they would look like when they're spun up. But I'm going to be dyeing up some natural merino as well, in the sort of this theme that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking like maybe dyeing up a really soft blue and spinning that with a fawn. I'm going to do blue and purple in the texture. Amethyst and teal, which I thought would really look smart together, really bounce. Lilac with that emerald green that I've got over there, and saffron with the turquoise over there, and maybe do a chocolate with a pink. That sounds really cool, doesn't it? But what I'm going to do first is just do an experiment. I'm using 2 different colours, but when you're dyeing wool, which I've explained before, I'm doing it in a big pot today, okay? And the wool's at temperature now. Now, I haven't put any citric acid in it, and this is the experiment, okay? I haven't put citric acid in this wool, in this water at all yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my dye now, and then I'm going to put in the yarn. I say the yarn, not the yarn at all. I'm going to put in the wool, and I'm going to use this grey merino. Because it really works well when you want to over dye dark colours on that, okay? Now, what I would expect it to see is that if I leave this sat in the dye stock solution without no citric acid in there, in that water, I expect that all of that will to saturate the dye pigment. It won't strike because there's no acid in there. So once I think it's got to a point where it's absorbed all the dye pigment in there, and hopefully it's not left any grey splotches or anything in the water or in my roving, take that out, then because the dye will be saturated all the way, there'll be citric acid in that water. Then use my other dye, which is a sapphire blue, on another piece of dark grey merino, light grey merino, put that in. And because the citric acid's in there, I would expect it to strike quite quickly. So I'll end up with a more mottled grey sections coming in and out of it, as well as the blue striking or the purple striking on that. I wouldn't expect it to dye completely solidly. If it did, bonus. But because the citric acid is already in the water with the dye, I would expect that dye to strike that wool really quickly. It would be the same if you pre-soaked your rovings in citric acid water before you put them in the pots with your dye pigment. I would expect the dye to strike that really quickly. So I thought this would be an interesting experiment and see what the development is at the end of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my sapphire blue in. I'm going to put the sapphire blue in into, well, I had my little spoons then. I've lost, where have I done with my spoons? They're there. Joe, you're a moron. I am. So I'm just using my little teaspoon, which is a pinch. So literally that. And no, I'm not using a face mask. My room's well ventilated, and I'm not using enough that's going to actually cause me any damage. Though you should do, health and safety wise, always use a mask. So I'm going to add another bit in there, which I think it might be too much, but we'll go for it anyway. So I want this to strike really, really well. Okay, so we'll just grab my tongs and give that water a swirl. And I'm going to leave this to sit in the water for a good 15 minutes to let it really, really strike in the dye stock. Okay, so I'm going to put that, all of that, into a pot. There's no citric acid in it at all. And I do hope, so I'll show you. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Okay, so that pot is a 10, I think it's a 10 litre pot. It's my large soup pot anyway. Look, we'll show you. Okay, a large one. So that is up to temperature that it needs to be. It's just sat there and it'll have an odd little pop of bubble of liquid going on, and I've half filled it, which means that that wool can float around with ease. It's not been constrained from being in a dye tray. It is floating around in that water, so all that dye pigment should be able to soak into that with ease and not constriction. So we're gonna go and leave that now. I'm gonna go and make myself a cup of coffee. I'll come back to you when I'm about to add in the citric acid, so you can witness me doing it. And then I'll come back to you once we're taking it out and we're putting the other one in. So we've just used the blue, so I better move that out of the way, otherwise I'll end up doing the blue again. Though I suppose doing the same colour, but it doesn't really matter, because we're wanting it for doing these Barber pole spins over the next couple of days, and then hopefully I can nip them up into little swatches once I've taken pictures as well, and then you'll be able to see the effects that you'll get from Barber pole, which is the whole point of me doing these swatches for you at the moment, so you can actually see it for yourself. And also the information, as you're fully aware, is going into my book. So this is part of my research as well as providing information for you. Okay, so I'll catch you in a bit. Go and make a brew now. Right, so I'm quite happy with the saturation of this roving. So here we go. So I'm not seeing any of the grey natural colour poking through on that whatsoever, and the water has got a blue tinge, but it has it's looking like it's quite clear. So now I'm going to put in the citric acid. Okay, and we're going to give that a few minutes for that to then let that help strike and fix to the wool, and then we'll put in the purple dye in next, and see how that comes out. So I'll catch you in a sec. Okay, so that blue is now as saturated as much as you're going to get with a wool. I think there's about 25 grams of light grey merino in there, but you can see that the water is really quite clear. It has still got a bit of a blue tinge, but I'm quite happy with that because I'm going to put in another colour now, and that's the purple. So I've added in the purple. I'm just going to grab a roving now and throw that in the pot, just as I would do anyway. Can you see the purple tinge coming through now? And we will see if I end up with any type of blotching where the dye is accumulated and struck really quickly in sections. I mean, to be fair, this is a small amount of wool in comparison to what I'd normally do, like a 100 gram roving or an 80 gram roving for blending. This is just an experiment, just to see what the results are, to see does it affect how the wool comes out the pot, regardless of whether you put the citric acid in first or afterwards. So I'll get you when this is finished at the end. So we're at that point now when the water's completely cleared inside my pot, and I can spot grey in there. Can you see that really light fading? So that just proves the rule. This is going to have a mottled look about it. I'm trying to make sure, because there's liquid in there. Can you see? There's still greying and there's lightness popping through. You haven't got a solid dye colour like you got with the blue, though. I mean, it's not totally, it's a lot more saturated, but you cannot see any grey in that at the moment, not in comparison to what I'm seeing with this. So there we go, experiment completed. So if you don't mind your roving having transient of softer shades through there and the dyes being stronger pigments in different areas to get a muted tone or more mottled roving when you spin it into a yarn, then by all means stick your citric acid in there. If you want to dye up loads and loads, well, I mean, I've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bits here that I've got to dye up now. Do I really want to back and forth, refill my pot up and then start again from scratch, or do I want to just carry on with the knowledge, knowing that it's not going to completely saturate my wool and it's going to strike where it meets first? That's down to me. So we've proven the rule. Once these are dry, I've got to show you the knit swatches from last week's video anyway. So once these are dry, I will show you the results. These, I'm now playing with. I've got wool soaking in the sink, you see. So I've now got to decide what I'm going to do. Probably should really do stronger colours, which I think I'll go off and do that now. But I'll catch you on the other side with the knit swatches and what those two rovings look like. And then I will get them all spun up and plied together to show you at the end, and yeah, and do some swatches and you can see what it looks like. So I'll catch you in a day, yeah, in a day's time probably, but you a few minutes, seconds, a bleep. Hi, it's been a few. So we've got now the results of the rovings that I dyed up on the video earlier on. So this is what I used, which is a light grey merino, really lovely. You can see it's got a sort of mixed colours in there, well, mixed shades and tones, really light to slightly darker pigments within the roving. So this is what we dyed on these two. Now remember, the test was to see if the theory, well, not a theory, but the method of soaking your wool before, as you would do anyway. I always pre-soak my wools before I put them in the dye pot, but what I did was pre-soaked it, then put it into the dye pot and the stock pot with the dye in there, no citric acid whatsoever, to see if it would, no, there was this one, wasn't it, to see if the dye would strike this more evenly. And then once I'd left it for 20 minutes, you can leave it for about 20 minutes, half an hour, then I added in the citric acid as I would do normally, and then that would then fix the dye to the wool. Now, yep, I've still got areas where you've got different shades and tones, but in saying that, there is no sign of any of the grey in this wool at all. There's no actual natural patches, it's just different shades of the blue dye. So that's a win. So that's a method that you really need to implement if you want to create solid colours or semi-solid without the, if you're using white and white natural or coloured or browns or whatever you're doing, make sure that it goes into the pot before the citric acid. It goes in the dye pot. You leave it for about 20 minutes, half an hour on a very low heat, just to let the saturation go through and it attach itself to the wool more evenly. Then add your citric acid and then leave it for another 10 minutes, if that, usually. Maybe turn up your heat a little bit, just a tad, because the water, as you saw in my pot, it was half full in a 10-litre pot, so there's about 5 litres of water in there. So, and it was in there on its own, so it had plenty of space in that water, in that dye stock, to move around and float about for the dye to get into it. So there was no crowding of it. So that was the best that I can do in that. Okay, so what we did afterwards is, once this was done and all the water was clear, we put in purple dye, and because the citric acid was in there already, as the theory, what I was trying to explain was that the dye will strike really quickly to the wool, to the point that, let's see the worst bits, there is still grey. There is still grey in there, and that's not what you really want to see, unless that's the look that you're looking for and you don't mind and you want it to have a mottled, muted sort of look about it. But that's what we've ended up with. So there's purple sections and it's struck in certain places. Sort of, you can see that's probably where it's hit the water first, and then this bit's afterwards, like sort of gone in like that. So the dye struck it as soon as it's gone into the dye pot. So that's what we've ended up with, which is pretty in itself. But if you wanted a semi-solid with none of the colours underneath, then you really want to let it, as I say, sit in the dye pot stock solution before you add the citric acid. And if you're doing batches of dyeing, you want to then just empty out your pot every time and start with clean water at every moment. So there we go. So there's that was that test that we wanted to try to see what it looks like. So what I've done is, while I've been, last couple of days since I did this video last, I've been spinning up all the rest of the wool in Barber pulp. So once I've finished this video, I'm going to spin these last bits of wool up. So I'm going to do a monochrome there with the light blue and the dark blue. So I'll put that to one side. And then I'm going to do this green with this purple because they really do look great together. So we're going to put those to one side. They're going to get spun up later on. So this one, if you can see it, I'll put a picture up so you can see it properly, is actual fact these two colours. So this is a salmon pink and this is the lighter version of it. So this is the leftover dye stock that was in the pot, and I put this in to see what it would turn out like a couple of shades lighter, and that is those two applied together. This is a woodland white face blended with a llama, and I think it's viscose fibre in there. And what I wanted to do was just show that you could add different types of fibres to each other. These are the same, both the same fibre blend, different shades, and they look fantastic together. It almost looks like a rosy pink. So that's one. So that's two of the set. That's the same blends that I've done with this one. Then I went with the same pink, this one, and I spun it up with a merino that I dyed up in chocolate brown. Does that look cool? So we've got that one. Sorry if the light's not brilliant, but I will take pictures of these and pop them up on the screen. So next we went with this one. So this is actually really, really quite shiny. So what this is the exact same fibre blend, the woodland white face blended with llama and viscose, but it was a purpley blue and a purple that I blended, that I spun up and applied together. Really, really pretty. Same purple and blue that I used with these ones. So that's just amazing how different they've come up looking on the fibre. This one again is a merino and woodland white face blend, and that is a marine blue and olive green that I've applied together. I've gone with an olive again, but this one this time is two merinos spun up together. So we've got a gold in there and we've got an olive green, and it's amazing how putting these two colours together, they complement each other, or they work hand in hand in harmony with each other as well. And it just shows that by doing something a little bit, I mean, when you look at them now, they all look like they're more or less solid colours, don't they? That's because they're actually harmonious colours, like what we spoke about at the beginning of these videos, where we were talking about analogous and complementary and things like that. That's what these are doing. So when you're doing barber pole knitting, barber pole spinning, you don't have to go with your obligatory white and grey, or black and white, or red and white, the sort of Christmas candy sort of colours. Pick up some colours that you really, really like, and make sure that they're going to work well together. And then knit them up with swatch, which is what I'm going to do with these. But I'll show you the swatch video, swatch on the next video, because it's going to take me about a week to do. This one again is a woodland white face blended with I think it was a merino as well. So we've got that one there, and it's like a really soft tealy green, but it's been spun up with what's supposed to be a really soft lilac, but it's come out looking like a grey. So that's what we've got. Those are going to get put into a ball. I'm going to get them knitted up into swatches, and then we can see what they look like next week on my next video. That cool. I mean, up close you can see that they've got different colours in them, but from a distance you can't really tell, can you? Put that one there. So yeah, so I'm going to go off and I'm going to get these spun up, and I will show you the swatches for these next time, because this is taking me the best part, believe it or not, 3 days to get spun up and set and washed and everything else. So I'm going to spin these up together, then I'm going to knit those swatches. I'll get these spun up later on this afternoon, and I'll get these two blues spun up later this afternoon, and then we'll knit those into swatches. So I'll end up with 10 different swatches, so you can get different ideas. So you've got like harmonious or monochromatic. Those are complementary. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the swatch is going to look like, and whether the colours matrix together, which I think is what's going to end up happening. So just squirrel that to one side. So before I go and leave you, these are the knit swatches for the last couple of fractal spins that we've done. So this is the long one that we did the first time round. So this was the long colour change fractal spin. Remember we did it a couple of weeks ago. Well, a week ago. Okay. So, well, 2 weeks ago actually. Joe, what are you talking about? So this was the long colour change fractal spin that we did fortnight ago. So that's that one. And I was asked if I could keep them all in the same colours so that you could see and compare the difference between them all. So I'll pop some pictures up at the end. So this one is a short colour change, 2-ply. And you've got this lovely striping effect, but it's more frequent in comparison to the long colour changes. Isn't it? It's really quite sweet. So the next one that we did was the video that I did last week. This has got some weight to it. This was the crepe yarn, or my faux 3-ply yarn. And this is a short colour change again, fractal spin, preparation, but the yarn has got a bit of weight to it. And this, I would say, you are going to get a gorgeous, if you use crepe yarn, you're going to get a really lovely, heavy outdoor jumper. It would make a really lovely, heavy blanket as well, lap blanket, if you're looking for something like that, or a bed blanket. Yeah, it's got really good, and it's got really lovely stitch definition in there as well, and it would make for really good cables in a knit, in an Aran jumper. So that is really, I'm really pleased with the results of this. It's got some give in it as well. It's still got some lovely stretch in it. It's not rigid by any means, but it looks absolutely stunning. In the look, go and have a go yourself. Go and have a go yourself at home. Just grab yourself some 30 gram samples and spin them up. Do your 2-ply, do your long colour change, and then do your crepe yarn. So that's when, as I showed you on the last video, your crepe yarn is spin 2-ply, two singles in the Z, and to the right of the wheel to the Z, okay, and then ply them together in the S, put them to one side in a bobbin, and then go and spin up a single and spin that to the S, and then ply the 2-ply and the single yarn together in the Z direction, and then you will get a crepe yarn. And I'm really pleased how that's come. If you find spinning up a 3-ply yarn a little bit more tedious or difficult because you haven't got enough bobbins, because you will need 3, because you're spinning up 3 different bobbins with 3 singles, and then you're going to apply them on a 4th bobbin. If you don't have them, then, I mean, obviously you can put them in centre pool balls, but if you don't have that amount of bobbins, then this is your perfect alternative. Definitely give it a go. So I hope you enjoyed that video so far. Yep, a lot of work going into these videos at the moment. That's why this I can't guarantee that it's going to come out on a Monday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I will make sure you get a video every week at the moment. Don't forget, Q&A post is up as well. I'd really appreciate if you stick some questions down, or some queries, or is there any prep methods for different types of yarns that you've never seen me do and you'd like me to have a go. I'd really appreciate that, and it's something that then I can go off and research and I can put into this new book. And when I do the Q&A, I'll be showing you the progress that I've made so far on the pages that I've got. And it's been brilliant because I've had Alison helping me out, because she's been editing and proofreading the book for me. So it's been edited so far. We'll have to obviously do an end print at the an end edit before I get it off of printing. I'm still raising the money for that. So just to remind you that every sale that comes through the website at the moment, it is helping me save the money up to self-publish this book. And the quicker I can self-publish, the quicker I can get the book out on the website for you guys to buy, and then I can get around to all the independent knitting shops around me and get my book put in there as well. I've got to be self-promoting, you see. Oh, and maybe even try and get into some guilds and come and show it off and bring a couple of copies with me there. That's what my intentions, my hopes are. So anyway, thank you very much for supporting me and being a member on Patreon. If you've got any friends out there that you think might be interested, send them a link and let them know that they get the first week free, and they've got access to free videos that I put up there for first week's free membership. Anyway, that's me off now. I will catch you again in about a week's time. You can catch me if you want, either direct messaging me. Your Patreon code is always going to be Patreon, as in the name, in capital letters. And at the moment it's buy two, get one free. So put 3 items in your cart and you'll get one free. Okay, so use that. You've got that to the end of March to use that. I haven't got a limit on how many times it can be used. So you Patreon members, go off there and have a go. Go and treat yourself. You can do it once or twice before the end of this month, March. But then it'll be a different code next month, but I haven't decided what it is. Each month is a different code. It could be free postage. It could be something else. So for this month, it's buy two, get one free. Right, that's me, definitely gone. I've got to now go and spin up an art yarn for an order and get ready for YouTube Live as well. So you take care. I will speak to you soon. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and leave comments down below. And I'll see you soon.